Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Now, last year, 70,000 people crammed into St. Peter's Square to hear Pope Francis give his Easter Sunday blessing, Urbi et Orbi, to the city of Rome and to the world. Well, this Easter weekend, in the coronavirus era, the square was empty. Breaking with centuries of tradition, the Pope held his address just to a camera, which live-streamed his words to the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. Inside the Basilica, as the pontiff held Mass, there was just a handful of choristers in the towering aisles, with officials seated at a safe distance from each other. For Catholics, Easter is their holiest day, a time of renewal and rebirth. Many cities, towns and villages across the world are still in lockdown, and tens of thousands have died. Pope Francis called for global solidarity in the face of the pandemic and its economic fallout.
In considerazione delle circostanze,
in light of the present circumstances, may international sanctions be relaxed, since this makes it difficult for countries on which they have been imposed to provide adequate support to their citizens, and may all nations be put in a position to meet the greatest needs of the moment through the reduction, if not the forgiveness, of the debt burdening the balance sheets of the poorest nations. The European Union is presently facing an epochal challenge on which will depend not only on its future, but that of the whole world. Let us not lose the opportunity to give further proof of solidarity, also by turning to innovative solutions. Rather, may this be a time for finally ending the long war that has caused such great bloodshed in Syria, the conflict in Yemen, and the hostilities in Iraq and in Lebanon. May this be the time when Israelis and Palestinians resume dialogue in order to find a stable and lasting solution that will allow both to live in peace. May the sufferings of the people who live in the eastern regions of Ukraine come to an end. May the Lord grant protection to migrants and refugees, many of them children, who are living in unbearable conditions, especially in Libya and on the border between Greece and Turkey. And also, I do not want to forget the island of Lesbos.
L'isola di Lesbo.
Pope Francis there. Well, for more on a totally untypical Easter celebration, I'm joined now in the studio by the Director of Communications at the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja, Reverend Father Patrick Alumuku. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you so much.
So how was your Easter?
Well, quite a busy Easter, incidentally, because we still had to have all the ceremonies, and from the point of view of my office, I had to coordinate the work of the Archdiocese of Abuja and the Archbishop of Abuja's ceremonies for the whole of the Holy Week. So it meant trying to cover and get all the media to cover the Palm Sunday, the Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and the Easter Sunday. And so, and all the other interviews on television, especially now when everybody's at home. So it's quite a busy time.
I can imagine. But of course, for many people who are not part of the priesthood, the faithful as it were, it was different for them. Because I mean, here their priests were telling them not to come to church, but to pray in their homes.
That's right. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, that in which situation we find ourselves at the moment, and so following the regulations from Rome and what the government locally has told us, and that of the Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, we've had to ask the people to stay at home. It was a very difficult moment for the people. But again, from the point of view of my work, it was quite a challenging moment.
I can imagine.
We had to reach the people to be able to tell them what was happening. We had to get them to watch our programs on television,
well, that's
on radio,
what I was going to ask you about.
Yes.
I mean, what sort of response did you get to this online Mass? Because, I mean, you know, you set up your computer so people can join to celebrate Easter Mass. I mean, what kind of response did you get? Was it live? Was it pre-recorded? How did it go? Were you getting hits and so on, like you do on sort of YouTube?
Incredible. We had the Catholic Television of Nigeria transmitting.
Yes, I got some text messages from your people, the CTV thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then we also had the online streaming that went out on YouTube and also on Facebook.
Was it all live?
Yeah, it was all live.
Okay.
All the ceremonies were live, and it's amazing. We got 150, 200,000 people, you know, hitting back and responding to us from all over the world. A lot from Nigeria, some from Africa, South Africa, parts of Europe and the United States.
So in a sense, going online actually gave you a bigger audience.
Absolutely. We actually thank God for this, because for us it was a moment to reach out to many more people, and many people came to know about the work that we are doing, especially from the point of view of this new television called the Catholic Television of Nigeria. We had a lot of following, and every day there were more people, because especially from Holy Thursday, when over 100,000 people watched us, you know, from that day onwards, the numbers kept increasing until
because obviously people were telling other people and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
about
until Easter Sunday, yes.
And did the people, I mean, I don't know how much of feedback you've got, but did they feel that connection? Did you feel that connection, that joy of Easter? Was that feeling present?
Yes. The joy of Easter will always be there for the Christian, but the expression, the public expression, it's what was missing. You know, to get into a church where you had 1,000, 2,000 people, and to find that it was the bishop at the altar with a few priests and a few deacons, and then we had a semblance of a choir of maybe 5 people at the choir, was something which was unheard of. I've been a priest for nearly 40 years now, and I haven't seen a thing like that. And I do wish we don't have to see it again.
Yes, but what I was going to ask you, Father, is what is it that's brought hope into the picture this Easter, with this awful disease rampaging across the world and not only killing people, but impoverishing many as well?
The hope is Christ himself, who in the midst of every disillusionment and lack of hope, of hopelessness, himself creates hope.
Yeah, but some would argue, why would that hopelessness be there in the first place? Why not just wave a magic wand and get rid of the hopelessness?
Well, I say this in the context of Easter, because Easter itself was a feast of hopelessness turned into hope.
Right.
Because on Good Friday, the apostles thought their word had come to an end. They were perhaps in a more desolate situation than we find ourselves in the
very disillusioned.
Yeah, in this period of the pandemic, and they found 3 days afterwards that the man on whom their hope had lied, and now who had been killed, had risen, and that was the greatest news they could hear. And so this says to us that yes, it may be bad today on Good Friday, it may be bad today, but tomorrow or 2 days afterwards, a few days afterwards, the situation will be much better.
Well, the problem,
that is the hope
is
that Christ brings.
Yeah, but that's the problem, that that hope is not there, particularly for people who are less well off. Coronavirus is ruining the world.
Well, yes. I have watched, you've been talking about Bill Gates lately. I watched with a lot of concern the videos of Bill Gates. And for me, how would this problem have been foreseen by Bill Gates and his group 5 years ago?
Yeah, they did.
And it was out there publicly for the rest of the world, we never saw it until now. We're going back into the archives and finding that this was hidden somewhere in the archives. I mean, this was a pandemic, and I saw the video of how he showed that it was going to ravage the entire world from one continent into the other. I mean, why was hidden in the archives until now? So, but now that it has come, we have to find a solution to it. And the solution possibly might be a very simple one. There is a video that is going viral now.
We've got about 10 seconds.
That, yeah. A Nigerian who says, my mother was positive, but 3 days afterwards, with ginger, with garlic, with some other substance,
right,
she became negative.
Okay,
so
well, I hope the rest of the world,
hope.
For a lot of other people, that sort of hope will be what will come to them this Easter. Father, thank you very much indeed. Father,
thank you so much.
Patrick Alumuku is the Director of Communications at the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.